we had gone up north, in upstate New York, on a camping trip, near High Peaks Wilderness Nature Preserve. It was myself, my girlfriend, and 2 of our friends. I had recently purchased a camper from my girlfriend's father, who was trying to fix it up and resell it. But the renovation didn't work as planned, so he just sold it to me. I thought it was a pretty good deal for what I paid for it. As we drove through and picked a spot, we realized it was near the Federal Correctional Institute. We joked that the worst thing that we would see on this trip would be an escaped convict. We set up camp and parked the truck away a bit from camp on a dirt road. After we're done setting up, it's about noon, we go on a hike around the nature preserve. It starts to get dark, and we head back to camp. It's June, and fairly cool for the summer. We start a fire, and all talk amongst ourselves. Around midnight is when my girlfriend goes inside the camper. We were staying in the camper, and our 2 friends had their own tent. I wasn't that tired, and I wanted to go for another walk. Freddie didn't feel like going, and so he stayed behind. I don't get that far away from camp before I start to hear like somebody's following me. I stop for a second, thinking that it's a deer, that the footsteps were loud, as if they had more weight behind them than a deer. I hear footsteps to the left of me. I try to adjust my eyes. I stay still, and again hear nothing, until the sound of one large branch breaks. I jump and head back to camp. When I return, Freddy's in his tent. Everyone else is asleep. I tell him to keep an eye out. I try to not act worried. It was probably just a deer. I go inside my camper, but I can't sleep immediately, so I sit at the table. Not long after I go in the camper, Freddy hears something in the bushes in front of him. It was a large thud, like a heavy footprint, similar to what I heard. A foul odor enters the air. It smelled like a wet bear. He scans the area and sees the outline of a large figure on its hind legs. He thinks it's a bear. He thinks to himself if they left any food around the campsite. But they put all of their food in a separate cooler. The figure takes a step forward, and he can see that it's not a bear. His next thought goes to an escaped convict, as they were joking earlier. But then his thoughts go back to a bear, just because of the size. It was roughly the size of a bear, but taller. It must have been around 8 feet tall. It just stands there. It sways from side to side, but remains in the same spot. At this point, he was peeking his head outside his tent. He goes more inside his tent to tell his girlfriend that there's something out there. The moment he goes inside the tent, he hears something break through the branches and the leaves, running up to the campsite, and then hitting the side of his tent. It didn't hit the side of the tent hard. It was probably a rock. They hear more footsteps running past the tent. They hear screams and howls that sound like a gorilla. Another one runs up and grabs the top of the tent, pulling it, but letting go immediately. After this, they get up and run inside the camper. I'm sitting at the table the entire time, listening to whatever's going on out there. The two of them enter the camper and shut the door immediately. They fill me in on what they saw, or at least what they heard. At that moment, my girlfriend becomes startled from something in the window. It looked like a gorilla staring right at us. I guess the only thing that I could do in that moment was shut the blinds. As I do that, the figure in front lets out a howl, followed by two other howls on both sides of the camper. Something hits the side of the tent. We just stand frozen in fear. All we could do was wait. Some of us fall asleep, but I stay up the entire night. As soon as the sun starts to come up, Freddie and I go outside the camper to the truck to hook it up so we can leave. We didn't stay around for that long to investigate what happened last night. The only thing we actually saw was how the ground was disturbed around the tent. It looked kind of like somebody was running in circles. There was nothing too distinct about them, but we did find a dent on the side of the camper where we heard a loud thud the night before.